In today's world, relationships are often approached with a mindset of what can I get from this? We look for someone who can make us happy, fulfill our needs, meet our expectations, and complete the picture we've built in our minds. We come in with checklists, emotional support, physical attraction, shared goals, and expect the other person to deliver. But somewhere in that process, we forget the fundamental truth. Relationships are about giving, not just getting. When we enter a relationship solely focused on what we're receiving, we reduce the other person to a source of our own fulfillment. We begin to treat love like a transaction. I give you affection, and in return, you make me feel secure, happy, and validated. And when that equation feels off balance, we get frustrated. We say things like, you're not meeting my needs, or I don't feel the same spark anymore, without stopping to ask, how am I showing up for them? The healthiest relationships are not rooted in constant evaluation of what we're getting. They're rooted in a quiet, consistent willingness to give, to offer love, support, patience, empathy, and understanding, especially when it's not convenient. Giving in a relationship doesn't mean losing yourself or becoming self-sacrificial. It means choosing to love actively rather than passively waiting to be loved. Society has trained us to fall in love with the beginning of things, the butterflies in your stomach, the excitement of the first text, the first date, the first kiss. We're drawn to the spark, that intense emotional rush that makes everything feel electric and effortless. We celebrate the chemistry, the laughter, the fireworks. And yes, the beginning of any relationship can be magical. But here's the problem. We've confused the spark for the entire relationship. We've mistaken the first few chapters for the whole story. The truth is, the spark is just that, a spark. It can ignite something, but it doesn't keep it burning. It's not meant to sustain. A spark without substance is a firework, dazzling for a second, then gone. But society rarely talks about what happens after the spark fades, when routine settles in, when life gets busy, when differences emerge, when the excitement of new becomes the rhythm of normal. That's where substance matters, and that's where most people get lost. Real connection isn't built in the high of the honeymoon phase, it's built in the quiet moments. The ones no one posts about. It's found in how you speak to each other when you're tired, how you handle conflict when you disagree, how you choose each other when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or even frustrating. Substance is found in the everyday, not in the grand romantic gestures, but in the little things that say, I see you, I care, I'm here. But here's the challenge. Our culture has conditioned us to expect constant excitement. The minute the high fades, we think something's wrong. We ask, did I pick the wrong person? Why don't I feel the same way anymore? Where did the spark go? And in those moments, too many people walk away. They chase the next spark, the next rush, the next person who gives them that emotional hit. But if all you're chasing is the spark, you'll spend your life starting over again and again. Always at the beginning, never building something real. Substance is not flashy. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with fireworks. It looks like emotional safety, like knowing someone's patterns and still choosing patience, like being honest about your fears and still being held with kindness. It's choosing to stay curious about your partner even after you think you know everything. It's doing the work not because the relationship is broken, but because it matters. We don't talk about this enough, especially with younger generations who are growing up in a world of instant gratification. Swipe left, swipe right, move on to the next. If something doesn't make you feel good right away, it must be wrong. But feelings are fleeting, substance is steady. And ironically, the most beautiful kind of passion often comes not at the beginning, but after trust is built, after you've weathered storms together, after you've seen each other fully and decided to stay. Relationships that last aren't the ones that burn the brightest in the beginning. They're the ones that are tended to like a slow burning fire. The ones where both people understand that love is not just a feeling, it's a practice. It's showing up. It's choosing again and again. It's building something that doesn't rely on spark alone, but is grounded in something much deeper. If we can learn to value that, to seek substance, to stay when it's hard, to grow through the quiet seasons, we might just find that what comes after the spark isn't the end. It's the beginning of something real. In today's world, we are constantly surrounded by images of perfection. Perfect couples on social media, perfect love stories in movies, perfect moments captured, filtered, and presented as the standard. Over time, we've absorbed a dangerous idea that relationships should look a certain way, feel a certain way, and be without flaws if they're truly meant to be. We start believing that the right relationship won't require hard work, won't have conflict, and won't challenge us. But that belief sets us up for disappointment. Because relationships are not about perfection, they are about progress. The search for perfection is a trap. It keeps us in a cycle of comparison, constantly measuring our relationships against a fantasy. We look at someone else's highlight reel and feel like we're falling short. We notice every flaw in our partner. Every small disagreement becomes a red flag. Every inconvenience becomes a reason to doubt. And so rather than work through issues, we start to wonder if we'd be better off with someone else. Someone more aligned, more understanding, more perfect. But that ideal person doesn't exist. Every single person comes with imperfections, baggage, and flaws. So do you. So do I. The idea that love should be effortless is not only false, it's harmful. It creates unrealistic expectations and leads to premature exits from relationships that could have been meaningful if only we had stayed long enough to work through the hard parts. Progress, on the other hand, is real, it's tangible, it's messy, but it's powerful. When we stop chasing the perfect relationship and instead focus on building a healthy one, something shifts. We begin to understand that love is not something you find fully formed, it's something you shape together over time. It's about learning each other's needs, growing in emotional intelligence, developing communication skills, and becoming more compassionate, not just toward your partner, but toward yourself. In a relationship built on progress, mistakes aren't deal breakers. They're opportunities for growth. Conflict isn't a sign that things are falling apart, it's a chance to learn more about each other. Disagreements, when handled with respect and intention, can actually bring people closer. But this only happens when we stop expecting perfection and start embracing the process. Progress means celebrating the small wins, like resolving an argument in a healthier way than last time, like opening up about something vulnerable and being met with kindness, like recognizing your own triggers and choosing to respond differently. These moments might not look perfect, but they're signs of a relationship that's maturing, a relationship that's alive, a relationship that's real. The truth is, relationships are just two imperfect people trying their best to love each other well. There will be misunderstandings. There will be unmet expectations. There will be days when you don't feel connected. But if the foundation is progress, if both people are committed to growing together, then even the rough patches have value. It's time we stop asking, is this perfect? And start asking, are we moving forward? Because that's what truly matters. Progress means you're still trying, still choosing each other, still showing up, and that in itself is beautiful. Perfection is sterile. It's unattainable, it's surface level. Progress is human, it's real, it's where love lives and where trust grows. So let's stop waiting for the flawless partner to show up. Let's stop jumping from one relationship to the next, hoping to find something that requires no effort. Let's commit to progress, messy, honest, imperfect progress. That's where the good stuff is. That's where love becomes real. We live in an age where communication has never been easier. We can send a message across the world in seconds. We have texts, DMs, emails, video calls, voice notes, an endless array of ways to reach each other. And yet, so many people feel alone in their relationships because while we may be communicating more than ever, we're not necessarily connecting. It's easy to assume that because we talk all the time, we must be close. But communication is not the same thing as connection. Communication is about the exchange of information. Connection is about the exchange of understanding. You can talk to someone every day, share updates, crack jokes, plan schedules, and still feel emotionally distant. Because connection isn't measured by how often you speak, but by how deeply you listen, how openly you share, and how safe you feel being yourself. In many relationships, people communicate for logistics, not intimacy. What time are you home? Did you feed the dog? What's the plan for this weekend? These things are necessary, but they aren't nourishing. They don't build emotional intimacy. Real connection happens when we go beyond the surface, when we ask, how are you really doing? And then pause long enough to truly hear the answer. It happens when we're willing to sit with each other's discomfort, when we're curious about each other's inner world, and when we respond with presence, not just words. The problem is we're not taught how to connect, we're taught how to respond. We're taught how to make our point, defend our stance, or win an argument. But connection doesn't thrive in performance or debate. It grows in the quiet space between two people who are willing to slow down, drop their guard, and be real. That kind of presence is rare and powerful. Too often, we listen to reply, not to understand. We wait for our turn to speak instead of truly absorbing what the other person is saying. Or we try to fix things too quickly, jumping into problem-solving mode before the person even feels heard. But connection doesn't ask for solutions. It asks for presence. It asks for empathy. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, that sounds really hard. I'm here with you. Technology has given us constant access to each other, but it's also created the illusion of closeness. A heart emoji doesn't replace a hug. A like isn't the same as I see you. Quick check-ins and daily chats don't automatically equal emotional intimacy. In fact, some people use constant communication to avoid deeper connection, to stay busy on the surface and avoid the vulnerability that real intimacy requires. To build true connection, we have to create space for it. That means putting down the phone, turning off the distractions, and being fully present. It means asking better questions and listening without an agenda. It means being willing to say things that are a little uncomfortable. I feel disconnected lately, or I want to understand you better, or even I miss us. These are the kinds of conversations that open doors to real closeness. Connection isn't something you check off a list. It's something you feel in your gut, in your chest, in the moments when someone looks at you and really sees you. And to give that kind of presence to someone else, you have to be brave. Brave enough to put down your defenses, brave enough to go beneath the surface, brave enough to show up again and again, even when it's hard. So no, communication isn't the same as connection. One is about talking, the other is about being. And in a world full of noise, real connection is still what we're all aching for. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that love, when it's right, should be easy. That if you're with the right person, everything will flow naturally, there won't be arguments, there won't be doubts, and there certainly won't be effort. It will just work. But that's a myth. A comforting one maybe, but a harmful one nonetheless. Because the moment love requires work, which it always will, many people assume something must be broken. In reality, effort isn't a sign of failure in a relationship. It's proof that you value it enough to nurture it. Love in its purest form is not effortless. It's not constant butterflies or picture-perfect harmony. It's a daily practice, a conscious decision to show up not just when it's convenient or exciting, but especially when it's difficult. Love takes work not because something is wrong, but because it involves two unique individuals with different perspectives, histories, wounds, and expectations, trying to build a shared life together. That's not supposed to be easy. Effort is what transforms a spark into something lasting. It's what bridges the gap between two people learning to communicate better, understand deeper, and love more fully. It's being willing to have the hard conversations, to ask uncomfortable questions, to apologize sincerely, and to change behaviors that hurt your partner, even if unintentionally. These things don't come naturally to everyone. They require awareness. They require humility. They require effort. Yet many people walk away at the first sign of struggle. A disagreement turns into a red flag. A flaw becomes a deal breaker. The moment love stops feeling effortless, it's labeled as incompatible. But no meaningful relationship is without its growing pains. The most connected couples, the strongest friendships, the most enduring partnerships, they all have one thing in common. They put in the work consistently, intentionally, quietly. There's a difference between toxic effort and healthy effort. Toxic effort is when you're the only one trying, when your well-being is being compromised, when you're constantly bending to make things work with someone who doesn't meet you halfway. That's not love. That's imbalance. But healthy effort, that's both people choosing to grow. It's mutual, it's respectful. It's not exhausting, it's enriching. It's work, yes, but it's work that builds something worthwhile. Our culture doesn't glorify that kind of love. It glorifies the highlight reel. The grand gestures, the chemistry, the passion, but real love lives in the mundane, in the everyday choices, in how you talk to your partner when you're frustrated, in how you support them when they're overwhelmed, in how you handle silence, conflict, boredom, or change. Love isn't proven in the easy moments, it's proven in the challenging ones. Expecting love to be effortless is like expecting a garden to flourish without tending to it. It doesn't matter how perfect the seeds are, without care, they won't grow. Love, like anything beautiful, requires intentional tending. Sometimes that's in the form of quality time. Sometimes it's forgiveness. Sometimes it's choosing to be kind even when you're hurt. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. If we let go of the fantasy that love should always feel effortless, we open ourselves up to a more grounded, more real kind of connection, one that accepts the messiness of being human, one that allows space for imperfection, for repair, for growth. And in doing that, we discover that effort isn't a burden, it's an expression of love itself. To put in effort is to say, you matter. This matters. We matter. The truth is, love isn't supposed to be effortless. It's supposed to be worth the effort. We've been taught to measure the success of relationships by how long they last. Anniversaries, years together, decades of commitment. These have become the gold standard. When we hear someone say, we've been together for 10 years, we instinctively admire it, assuming that duration automatically equals depth. But the truth is, time alone doesn't define the value of a relationship. Longevity without depth is like reading the same page of a book over and over again and calling it a story. There are relationships that span years but never evolve. Conversations stay surface level, emotional walls never come down, and real vulnerability is avoided. People grow older together, but not necessarily closer. They stay out of habit, comfort, fear of starting over, or societal pressure. In contrast, some relationships, though short in length, leave a lifelong impact. A few months of genuine connection, raw honesty, and mutual growth can be more transformative than years of quiet disconnection. We tend to celebrate duration because it's easy to quantify. It fits into timelines and looks impressive on paper. But emotional depth isn't something you can measure in months or years. It's felt in moments of presence, in conversations that go beyond daily routines, in the courage to be fully seen and still fully accepted. Depth is about the quality of the bond, not the quantity of time. Think about the people who've truly shaped your life. Not just the ones who've been there the longest, but the ones who challenged you to grow, who held space for your truth, who met you in your most unfiltered form. Those relationships are the ones that matter most, no matter how short or long they lasted. They were real, they were alive. But we rarely ask, how safe do you feel in your relationship, or how deeply do you understand each other? Instead, we ask, how long have you been together? As if endurance alone is the goal. The truth is, a long relationship that lacks intimacy, honesty, or emotional connection isn't more successful than a shorter one that was filled with growth, love, and truth. Longevity without depth can create a kind of quiet resignation. Staying together out of fear of being alone or because it's too late to start over. But no matter how much time has passed, connection can't be faked. You can't substitute time for presence. You can't replace real listening with routine check-ins. You can't claim closeness just because you've shared a space or a last name for years. We need to start honoring the relationships that feed the soul, not just the ones that check off milestones. The ones where both people are committed not just to staying together, but to growing together. Where difficult conversations are welcomed. Where both people feel heard, seen, and valued. Where the connection deepens with time rather than simply drifts. That's not to say long-term relationships aren't beautiful. They absolutely can be. But it's not the length that makes them meaningful. It's what you build within that time. It's how you weather storms together. It's how you evolve as individuals while still choosing each other. It's the laughter, the forgiveness, the intimacy, the shared vision. That's what gives time its worth. So instead of asking how long people have been together, maybe we should start asking different questions. What have you learned from each other? How have you grown because of this relationship? Do you feel more yourself with them or less? Because those are the things that truly matter. A meaningful relationship is not defined by the calendar. It's defined by connection, by impact, by how it makes you feel, and who it helps you become. Depth, not just duration. That's where the magic lives. In today's world, relationships are often approached with a mindset of, what can I get from this? We look for someone who can make us happy, fulfill our needs, meet our expectations, and complete the picture we've built in our minds. We come in with checklists. Emotional support, physical attraction, shared goals, and expect the other person to deliver. But somewhere in that process, we forget the fundamental truth. Relationships are about giving, not just getting. When we enter a relationship solely focused on what we're receiving, we reduce the other person to a source of our own fulfillment. We begin to treat love like a transaction. I give you affection, and in return, you make me feel secure, happy, and validated. And when that equation feels off balance, we get frustrated. We say things like, you're not meeting my needs, or I don't feel the same spark anymore. Without stopping to ask, how am I showing up for them? The healthiest relationships are not rooted in constant evaluation of what we're getting. They're rooted in a quiet, consistent willingness to give, to offer love, support, patience, empathy, and understanding, especially when it's not convenient. Giving in a relationship doesn't mean losing yourself or becoming self-sacrificial. It means choosing to love actively rather than passively waiting to be loved. True giving is about presence. It's listening without interrupting. It's remembering the small details because they matter to someone else. It's being patient on the days when your partner is overwhelmed, irritable, or anxious. It's choosing to be kind even when you're tired, choosing to understand instead of judge, choosing to stay instead of shutting down. These acts may not be grand or flashy, but they build the kind of foundation that real love stands on. There's a misconception that giving in a relationship means losing power, that if you give too much, you'll be taken for granted. But when two people are both committed to giving, it doesn't become unbalanced, it becomes reciprocal. Love flows in both directions. Each person is looking for ways to serve the other, not out of obligation, but because love, in its most genuine form, is generous. On the flip side, relationships built around getting often lead to disappointment. No one can meet all your needs all the time. No one can read your mind or always make you feel good. And when you're fixated on what the relationship is doing for you, you become blind to what you could be doing in it. You stop asking, how can I contribute? And start asking, why am I not getting what I want? That mindset drains connection, it breeds resentment, it creates emotional scorekeeping. I did this, so you should do that. But love doesn't work like that. Love thrives in an environment where both people are secure enough in themselves to give freely without keeping tabs, where you show up for each other not because of what you'll get in return, but because you care. Giving doesn't mean neglecting your own needs, it means expressing them clearly while still being tuned in to your partner's. It means holding space for both people to be human, to grow, to struggle, and to be imperfect. Giving is not about fixing each other, it's about supporting each other while you both figure things out. In the end, love isn't sustained by how much we demand, it's sustained by how much we pour in. The little acts of care, the consistent efforts to understand, the willingness to be there when it matters most. These are the things that create deep, lasting connection. So maybe the better question to ask in a relationship isn't what am I getting, but what am I giving? Because that's where love truly begins.